Andre arrived in Toronto in the summer of 1984. A room had been arranged for him at a settlement house in the west end of the city. He spent the mornings in a vocational placement program, and in the afternoons he made his way to the local library, his papers and magazines. There were regulars at the library, a skinny woman with a faint mustache and a clothing fetish for any shade of yellow, who surrounded herself with gardening books, an older white man in a sweatsuit who quietly read aloud from the Quran. There was another man who was teaching himself German. Andre sat among these people and before long was greeted with familiarity by the library staff. Every day between the hours of 1 and 6 p.m. when the library closed, he gathered facts about his adopted home and copied them into a pocket-sized writing pad. He looked for what was current, the catchphrases, the names of politicians and celebrities, recent films, the names of local parks and city landmarks. He wanted to collect as many household terms as possible, out of curiosity, but also out of need to occupy himself. He read, and when people spoke of something he didn't know, he listened attentively, leaping at unusual or unfamiliar bits of speech. He even copied people's attire and habits, creating a safe character acceptable to his new world. He took to wearing a baseball cap. He dressed in blue jeans and a gray t-shirt with the words Dalhousie Men's Diving and in a distinguished collegiate typeface. Every morning he put aside his dimes and nickels for the library's photocopy machine, double counting his change so that when he dropped the coins into the photocopy machine, into the slot, he could do so with the unthinking ease of a regular. It took some time for him to get used to the eccentricities of his new home, exiting a streetcar, operating a payphone, reading a map, finding an address. Such simple everyday things which at first held the fear of failure became a test of belonging. Each misstep left him feeling alien and unprotected. When Andre spoke with the other men at the settlement house, men who had traveled from all over the world fleeing wars and political oppression, they shared only details of the present, safe things, in scraps of English. They were not down and outs. They would be moving on. They were all just biding their time until the day they would begin their real lives. Every few months, one left and another arrived. The settlement house reflected their transience. There were no pictures, no scented candles, no ornaments, nothing personal that tied them to this place and time whose memories they would one day erase. By Andre's 4th month, a sense of kinship had developed in them, but they were a momentary family who would disperse without regret. Of the residents, only Andre and a South African spoke English prior to their arrival. The other men knew the words revolution, interrogation, embassy, displaced person, exile, death squad, but otherwise spoke like children, stringing together disjointed phrases, words that didn't have much to do with the thoughts they were in, or the half-world they lived in. Urged on by an exuberant ESL teacher, they mouthed the language of parrots. Hi, how are you? Nice day, isn't it? Would you care for a coffee? Their accents slowed them down, but no more than if they'd been taught to say, do you know what's happening in my country? Do you know what brought me here? That summer of 1984, when Andre arrived in Toronto, everyone was watching the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles on TV. The Soviets had boycotted the Games, ordering all their satellite states to do the same. Romania openly defied Moscow, becoming the only Warsaw Pact country to send their athletes to the Games. In the absence of the Soviet competitors, an 18-year-old Romanian gymnast by the name of Kati Szabo rose to the top, winning 4 gold medals. On the day of the final competition, Andre ventured a few blocks from the settlement house he had been living in to a Portuguese coffee bar called Milky Rose on College Street. He had noticed the television mounted above the bar and walked in. The gymnasts on the screen wore white leotards with red, gold, and blue stripes running down the sides. They had matching ribbons in their hair and delicate boned limbs. From the back of the bar came the harsh clacking of dominoes hitting a table. The refrigerator cool of the place was a sharp contrast to the humidity outside. At the front table sat 2 middle-aged men in construction clothes, both staring at the mute television. Beside them sat a younger man reading a newspaper, taking short slugs of Coke from a bottle. Andre made his way to the counter and ordered a sandwich and a latte from a man with thick gray hair. As the man steamed some milk, he turned his head toward Andre. My son goes nuts over the track and field competitions. He's a runner, and it's all he cares about. He poured the espresso and steamed milk into a glass and set it down in front of Andre. Andre dropped 2 sugar cubes into the coffee and stirred, then leaned his elbows on the bar. In the corner, a man was punching the payphone to try to get his quarter back. "Hey, strong man, ease up," the man at the counter shouted. Yeah, Manuel, all right."